The night air was cold enough to make her hands shake as she sat inside an old faded car parked behind a grocery store in Arizona. The windows were covered with towels, so nobody could see inside. Her little daughter was sleeping on the back seat wrapped in a thin blanket that barely kept the cold away. Outside, the world moved like normal. People walked into restaurants. Families laughed under bright lights. Cars passed by without slowing down. Nobody noticed the woman hiding in the darkness, trying not to cry because if she cried too loudly, her daughter might wake up and ask the question she feared the most. "Mom, are we homeless?" Her name was Sarah. At 29 years old, she had lost almost everything. A broken marriage, an empty bank account, a pile of unpaid bills, and a life that once looked safe from the outside but was silently falling apart for years. Only 6 months earlier, she had been living in a small apartment believing things would somehow get better. But life does not always warn you before it changes forever. Sometimes it happens in one single moment. The day her husband left, he did not scream. He did not fight. He simply packed his clothes, looked at her with tired eyes, and said he could not do this anymore. Then he walked out the door without looking back, leaving behind a crying child and a woman who suddenly realized love alone could not pay rent. Sarah tried to stay strong. She worked double shifts at a small diner. She skipped meals so her daughter could eat. She sold jewelry that once meant something to her. But every month the bills grew larger. Every month life became heavier. Until finally the landlord taped a notice to her front door. 3 days later, she was sleeping in her car. The first night felt unreal. She kept staring at the steering wheel, unable to understand how life had collapsed so quickly. She remembered the promises she once made to herself. She had dreamed of giving her daughter a beautiful childhood, a safe home, a warm bed, a future filled with hope. Instead, she was searching for parking lots where security guards would not knock on the window. But something strange happened during those nights inside the car. After the fear settled, after the tears dried, after the silence became familiar, a different feeling slowly appeared. Anger. Not the kind of anger that destroys people. The kind that wakes them up. Every morning, Sarah watched successful people walk into coffee shops carrying laptops and expensive clothes. And she kept thinking about one thing. Why not me? She had no degree, no connections, no money. But deep inside, she still had something alive. A quiet voice refusing to die. One afternoon, while sitting in a public library trying to stay warm, she noticed something interesting. Women around her kept asking about handmade skincare products online. Natural creams, organic oils, simple beauty products without chemicals. Sarah remembered something from her childhood. Her grandmother used to make homemade skin creams using coconut oil, lavender, and natural herbs. As a little girl, Sarah watched her carefully mix ingredients in the kitchen while neighbors begged to buy small jars from her. That memory stayed in her mind the entire night. The next morning, she spent the last $30 she had on basic ingredients. Coconut oil, shea butter, small glass jars. Inside a public restroom, she cleaned the jars carefully. Then, sitting in the back seat of her car under a parking lot light, she began mixing ingredients with shaking hands. Her daughter watched quietly. "Mom, what are you doing?" Sarah smiled softly and said, "Building our future." The first batch looked terrible. The texture was uneven, the labels were crooked, and the scent was too strong. But Sarah refused to quit. During the day, she worked at the diner. At night, she sat in the car making skin cream, while her daughter slept beside her. Sometimes she cried from exhaustion. Sometimes she wanted to give up. But every time she looked at her little girl, she kept going. 1 week later, she created a small social media page and uploaded pictures of her homemade products. At first, nobody cared. Days passed without a single order. The silence hurt more than she expected. But then something happened. A woman sent a message asking if the cream could help dry skin during winter. Sarah answered immediately with kindness and honesty. The woman ordered 1 jar. Only 1. But Sarah celebrated like she had won the lottery. Because for the first time in months, someone believed in something she created. She carefully wrapped the package using leftover paper from the library printer. Then she drove across town just to deliver it herself. 2 days later, the customer posted a glowing review online. She said the cream made her skin feel better than expensive luxury brands. That single review changed everything. More women started ordering. 10 orders became 20. 20 became 50. Soon Sarah was making products every night until sunrise. The car smelled permanently like lavender and coconut oil. Boxes filled every corner. Sometimes her daughter helped place labels on jars while singing softly in the back seat. Those became the happiest moments of Sarah's life. Not because they were rich, not because life was easy, but because hope had finally returned. Months passed. Sarah saved every dollar she could. She still slept in the car, still showered at public gyms, still fought exhaustion every day. But now she had a mission. One evening while delivering orders, she parked outside a beautiful office building downtown. Through the glass windows, she saw women in elegant clothes discussing business around a large table. For a moment, insecurity returned. She looked at her old car, her tired face, her cheap shoes, and she wondered if she truly belonged in the world of business. Then her daughter looked at her and said something Sarah would never forget. "Mom, our car is ugly, but your dream is beautiful." Sarah smiled through tears. That night she made a promise to herself. She would never allow her circumstances to decide her future again. She started studying business online using free videos at the library. Marketing, branding, customer psychology, packaging design. While others slept, Sarah learned. Slowly her products improved. The labels became elegant. The ingredients became higher quality. Customers started sharing her story online. People were not only buying skincare anymore. They were buying hope. Women across America connected with her journey. Single mothers, women escaping abusive marriages, women rebuilding their lives from nothing. Sarah became proof that broken beginnings do not always create broken endings. Then one morning, everything changed forever. A famous beauty influencer with millions of followers discovered Sarah's products online. She posted a short video talking about the homemade cream created by a struggling single mother living in her car. Within hours, the internet exploded. Orders flooded in faster than Sarah could understand. Her phone would not stop vibrating. Thousands of women wanted to support her business. Sarah sat inside the car staring at the screen in complete shock. Then she broke down crying. Not because of money, because for the first time in years she felt seen. A few months later, Sarah rented a tiny workspace. Nothing fancy, just 4 walls and enough room to breathe. The first thing she bought was not expensive furniture, not designer clothes, not jewelry. She bought her daughter a real bed. That night, her little girl fell asleep smiling in a warm room for the first time in almost a year. Sarah sat quietly watching her sleep. And in that moment, she realized success is not always loud. Sometimes success is simply hearing your child sleep peacefully after months of fear. The business continued growing rapidly. Retail stores reached out. Magazines wanted interviews. Podcasts invited her to share her story. But success brought new pressure too. People doubted her. Some claim Sarah sat quietly watching her sleep. And in that moment, she realized success is not always loud. Sometimes success is simply hearing your child sleep peacefully after months of fear. The business continued growing rapidly. Retail stores reached out. Magazines wanted interviews. Podcasts invited her to share her story. But success brought new pressure too. People doubted her. Some claimed her story was fake. Others said she only became successful because of luck. Sarah listened quietly, because nobody saw the nights she almost gave up. Nobody saw the hunger, the panic attacks, the freezing cold mornings inside the car. People love success, but they rarely respect the suffering behind it. 1 year later, Sarah hired her first employee, a single mother struggling to survive after escaping domestic violence. Then another woman, then another. Soon her company became more than a business. It became a second chance for women society often ignored. Inside her office, there were no judgments.
No scam. No pretending.
Only women rebuilding their lives together. As the years passed, the small homemade brand turned into a multi-million-dollar company. Luxury stores carried her products across America. Celebrities posted about her creams online. Business magazines called her one of the most inspiring entrepreneurs in the country. But Sarah never forgot the parking lot behind the grocery store. She never forgot the nights she covered the windows with towels, hoping nobody would notice they were homeless. One winter evening, after becoming successful, she drove back to the same parking lot alone. The store looked exactly the same. The cars moved in and out without slowing down. People carried shopping bags under bright lights. Sarah sat quietly inside her new car, remembering the woman she used to be. Broken, terrified,
Exhausted.
Then she looked at the empty parking space where she once slept with her daughter. And she whispered softly, "We made it." Tears rolled down her face. Not because the pain disappeared, but because she survived it. Many people believe courage looks powerful, like speeches, like confidence, like fearless people standing on stages. But real courage often looks different. Sometimes courage is a mother pretending everything is okay so her child can sleep peacefully. Sometimes courage is mixing skin cream inside a cold car while the world ignores you. Sometimes courage is continuing one more day when life gives you every reason to stop. Sarah's story spread across the country, inspiring millions of women who felt invisible. Women who believed their life was already over. Women trapped in poverty. Women abandoned by people they trusted. Her message was always simple. Your current situation is not your final destination. Years later, during an interview, a reporter asked Sarah one question. What was the moment you knew you would succeed? Sarah smiled quietly before answering. It was not when the money came. It was not when the company became famous. It was not when celebrities started using my products. I knew I would succeed the moment I stopped feeling ashamed of starting from nothing. The room became silent, because deep down everyone understood the truth inside those words. Most people are not destroyed by failure. They are destroyed by embarrassment, by fear, by the opinions of others. Sarah stopped caring about appearances the night she chose survival over pride. And that decision changed her entire life. Today, thousands of women work through programs funded by her company. Single mothers receive housing support. Struggling families receive food and education. Women escaping abuse receive jobs and safety. Because Sarah never wanted success to end with her. She wanted her pain to become somebody else's rescue. Late one night, after finishing a speech in New York, she returned to her hotel room exhausted. Her daughter, now older and taller, sat beside the window, looking at the city lights. Then she smiled and asked, "Mom, do you remember when we lived in the car?" Sarah laughed softly through emotional eyes. Every single day. Her daughter hugged her tightly and whispered something that stayed in Sarah's heart forever. That car gave us a future. And maybe that was the truth all along. Maybe the worst chapter of your life can become the beginning of something beautiful. Maybe pain can build strength. Maybe rejection can create purpose. Maybe rock bottom can become the foundation for a new life. Because sometimes the people who change the world are not the ones who started with everything. Sometimes they are the women sitting alone in dark parking lots, refusing to give up even when nobody believes in them. And somewhere tonight there is another mother sitting inside a car feeling hopeless. Thinking life is over. Thinking nobody sees her struggle. But if Sarah's story proves anything, it is this. A broken moment can still create an extraordinary future. All it takes is one decision. To keep going.